My daughter is spoiled and caused a fight with her grandparents, which led to my wife getting stitches. She still believes her actions are justified. I always wanted to give my daughter, Lily, the best life possible. I grew up in a strict household where love was earned, not given, and I swore that my child would never feel the way I did. So, I made sure she had everything. Expensive gifts, praise for every little achievement, and complete freedom to make her own choices. I thought I was being a good father. But now, I realize I may have made the worst mistake of my life. Lily's entitled attitude had been growing for years, but it all reached a boiling point one night at my parents' house. She got into an argument with them, and in the chaos, my wife, Emily, ended up getting seriously injured. But the worst part? Lily still refuses to believe she did anything wrong. That was the moment I knew something had to change. Raising Lily had always been a balancing act between love and discipline, but I leaned heavily toward love, perhaps too much. I had grown up in a household where affection was rare, and discipline was handed out without hesitation. My father was strict, believing that tough love was the only way to raise strong, disciplined children. My mother, though more nurturing, never went against his authority. She often said that children should be seen and not heard. Growing up in that environment made me determined to be a different kind of parent. I wanted my child to feel loved, supported, and free to express herself without fear of harsh punishment. So, when Lily was born, I vowed to give her the childhood I wished I had. At first, I believed I was doing the right thing. I let her make her own choices, never forcing her into anything she did not want to do. If she did not want to clean up her toys, I told myself that she was just a child and that she would learn responsibility when she was older. If she threw tantrums in the store because she wanted something, I would buy it for her to calm her down. If she did not feel like doing her homework, I assured her that grades were not everything. Emily, my wife, was not as lenient. She wanted Lily to have a childhood filled with love, but she also believed in teaching her accountability. She set boundaries, enforced consequences, and tried to show Lily that actions had repercussions. But every time she tried to discipline Lily, I would step in and soften the rules. I thought I was protecting my daughter, but in reality, I was creating a bigger problem. As Lily grew older, her entitlement became more apparent. She believed that she deserved whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted it. She developed a habit of talking back to teachers, ignoring house rules, and always expecting to get her way. If something did not go according to her plans, she saw it as an injustice rather than a learning experience. Emily warned me many times. She told me that we were enabling Lily's behavior, that we were setting her up for failure in the real world. But I dismissed her concerns. I thought she was being too harsh, too strict. I convinced myself that Lily would grow out of it, that she just needed more time. But I was wrong. One of the biggest sources of conflict in Lily's life was her relationship with my parents. They were from a different generation, strict, traditional, and unwavering in their beliefs. My father believed in respect and discipline above all else, and my mother, while more understanding, never hesitated to enforce rules when she thought they were necessary. Lily, on the other hand, had grown up without many rules. She was not used to being told no, and she certainly was not used to being challenged on her behavior. So, whenever we visited my parents, there was tension. My father often criticized her, calling her spoiled and telling her that she needed to learn responsibility. My mother, though gentler, made it clear that she did not approve of Lily's attitude. Lily did not take their words well. She saw their discipline as an attack, as a personal insult. She would roll her eyes, talk back, and storm off whenever they tried to correct her. She refused to accept that they had different values, that their perspective on life was shaped by their experiences. To her, they were simply wrong, and she was right. I tried to smooth things over, often making excuses for her behavior. I told my parents that Lily was just headstrong, that she was independent, that she was still learning. I did everything I could to keep the peace, but it was never enough. Emily, however, did not excuse Lily's behavior. She believed that Lily needed to learn how to respect others, even when she disagreed with them. She tried to get Lily to see that my parents were not being cruel. They were just trying to teach her important lessons. But Lily refused to listen. Then came a night that changed everything. We had gone to my parents' house for what was supposed to be a peaceful family dinner. But instead, it turned into the worst night of our lives. By the time the night was over, Emily was in the hospital with stitches, my parents were furious, and Lily stood by her actions as if she had done nothing wrong. And to this day, she refuses to take responsibility for what happened. The night started like any other. We were invited to my parents' house for dinner, something we had done many times before. Emily and I had debated whether or not to bring Lily, given how tense things had been between her and my parents, but in the end, I insisted. I told Emily that it was important for Lily to maintain a relationship with her grandparents, even if they did not always see eye to eye. Looking back, I realized how blind I was. From the moment we walked in, the tension was palpable. My father sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, his sharp gaze fixed on Lily as if he already anticipated trouble. My mother, ever the peacemaker, gave us a warm smile and ushered us inside, trying to lighten the mood. But Lily, in her usual manner, barely acknowledged them. She walked past my father without so much as a greeting and flopped down onto the couch, scrolling through her phone. I knew it was rude, but I did not say anything. I'd spent years making excuses for her behavior, and that night was no different. Dinner was a disaster from the start. My mother had gone out of her way to cook Lily's favorite meal, lasagna, but Lily barely touched it. She made faces, poking at the food with her fork as if it were unappetizing. "This has too much cheese," she muttered. My father's jaw clenched. "You should be grateful your grandmother cooked for you." Lily scoffed. I did not ask her to. Silence fell over the table. Emily shot me a look, silently urging me to say something, but I froze. I wanted to smooth things over, but I had spent so many years avoiding confrontation that I did not know how to start. My father, however, had no problem confronting the issue. You are spoiled, he said bluntly. You have no respect, no gratitude. When I was your age, if I had spoken like that to my elders, I would have been punished. Lily rolled her eyes. Good thing I'm not you. That was the moment the night truly spiraled out of control. My father, already on edge, slammed his fist against the table. Enough, he snapped. I will not have this kind of behavior in my house. Lily, never one to back down, stood up from the table. Then maybe I should not be here, she shot back. Maybe you shouldn't, my father said coldly. Emily reached for Lily's arm, trying to defuse the situation. Lily, sit down. We are guests in their home. But Lily was too angry to listen. Why do I have to sit here and be insulted, she demanded. Why do I have to put up with people who think they are better than me? That was when my mother tried to intervene. She reached for Lily's hand, hoping to calm her down, but Lily pulled away roughly. Do not touch me, she snapped. The sudden movement caused my mother to lose her balance. She stumbled backward, knocking into the table, and the next thing we knew, Emily lunged forward to catch her. But in the chaos, Lily shoved Emily out of the way. Emily fell hard. There was a sickening sound as she hit the edge of the table, followed by a sharp gasp. Blood. A deep gash on her forehead. My mother screamed. My father shot up from his seat, his face red with rage. And Lily just stood there, unmoved. I rushed to Emily, my hands shaking as I pressed a napkin to her wound. She was groaning in pain, her eyes fluttering as she tried to steady herself. My father turned to Lily, his voice like ice. Look at what you have done. But Lily crossed her arms, completely unfazed. It was an accident. She got in my way. An accident. That was how she saw it. As if Emily's pain, her blood, her suffering, was nothing more than an inconvenience. Emily was rushed to the hospital that night. She needed stitches, and the doctor warned us that she could have had a concussion. My mother sobbed the entire way there, blaming herself for not being able to prevent what had happened. And Lily? She still refused to admit that she had done anything wrong. Sitting in the hospital waiting room, I could feel my anger simmering beneath the surface. My hands were still stained with Emily's blood, a haunting reminder of what had just happened. My father paced back and forth, muttering under his breath, while my mother sat beside me, trembling. Lily had not even come with us. Instead, she had gone back home as if nothing had happened. No remorse, no guilt, just pure entitlement. When the doctor finally came out and assured us that Emily was stable, I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. But the relief was short-lived. The moment I walked in her hospital room and saw her lying there, bandages covering her forehead, I knew something inside me had changed. I could no longer keep making excuses for Lily. Emily looked up at me, her expression weary. She did not even say sorry, did she? I shook my head. Emily let out a bitter laugh. I did not know why I am even surprised. My father, who had followed me into the room, clenched his fists. That girl needs to learn respect. If she were my daughter, she is your granddaughter, my mother cut in, and she learned this behavior because we allowed it. My father fell silent. It was true. We had all played a role in shaping Lily into the person she had become. But I was done enabling her. As soon as Emily was discharged, we went straight home. The house was eerily quiet, but I could see the glow of Lily's phone from the couch. She was lying there, scrolling through social media as if nothing had happened. I had never felt so disgusted in my life. Lily, I said, my voice dangerously calm. She barely glanced up. What? You hurt Emily, I said. You physically hurt her, and you did not even care. Lily scoffed. It was not my fault. She got in the way. I took a deep breath, trying to suppress the rage bubbling up inside me. You pushed her. You caused her to hit her head. Do you even understand how serious this is? Lily rolled her eyes. Oh my God. Are you seriously still talking about this? Something inside me snapped. You are grounded, I said firmly. No phone. No going out. No privileges. Until you learn how to respect other people. Lily sat up, eyes widening. You cannot do that. I can, and I will, I said. Lily shot up from the couch, her face contorted in anger. This is so unfair. You are punishing me over something that was not even my fault. Emily, still holding an ice pack to her head, finally spoke. Lily, you need to understand that your actions have consequences. But Lily was not listening. She was too busy throwing a tantrum. You are the worst parents ever, she screamed. I hate you both. For the first time, her words actually hit me. I had spent years trying to shield her from consequences, thinking that if I just gave her enough love and patience, she would grow out of this behavior. But I was wrong. And the worst part? She did not even realize what she had lost. That night, I took away all of her electronics. Her phone, her laptop, even her tablet. Lily screamed, cursed, and called me every name in the book, but I did not care. I was done being manipulated by her tantrums. Then came the moment that changed everything. The next morning, I woke up to a message from my mother. She was crying. I just want to check on Lily, but she said she never wants to see me again, she sobbed over the phone. I felt my stomach drop. My mother, the woman who had loved Lily unconditionally, who had cooked for her, cared for her, and always defended her, was now being completely shut out. Lily had burned every bridge she had left. That was when I realized something heartbreaking. If she continued down this path, she was going to end up completely alone. I put down the phone and sat in silence for a long time. My mother's voice still echoed in my head, shaky, broken. I never thought I would hear her cry over Lily. She had always been the one defending her, saying she was just a kid who would grow out of it. But now, even she was starting to see the truth. I knew then that something had to change. Lily needed to learn the hard way that the world did not revolve around her. When I walked into her room, I found her sprawled across the bed, arms crossed, glaring at me. She was still sulking from last night. I just got off the phone with your grandmother, I said. She is heartbroken. Lily scoffed. She is being dramatic. I clenched my jaw, taking a deep breath. Lily, you have pushed away everyone who loves you. Your grandparents, your mother, and even me. You have no respect for the people who have cared for you your entire life. She rolled her eyes. Whatever. Her indifference cut deep. But I was not going to let her attitude sway me this time. You're going to therapy, I said firmly. That got her attention. She sat up. Excuse me. You heard me, I said. I have already scheduled your first session. If you refuse to go, you will lose every privilege you have left. Lily's mouth dropped open. This is so unfair. You are acting like I am some kind of criminal. I shook my head. No, Lily. I'm acting like a father who refuses to let his daughter turn into a person nobody can stand to be around. She huffed, but for the first time, she did not have a retort. Later that evening, I sat down with Emily. She was still recovering, and I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. I do not know if therapy will help, she admitted. She's been like this for so long. I have to try, I said. If we do not, she's going to end up completely alone. Emily sighed, rubbing her bandaged forehead. You're a good father. You know that? I let out a bitter laugh. I did not feel like one. She reached for my hand. You're trying to fix what is broken. That is more than a lot of parents do. Lily's first therapy session was a disaster. She barely spoke and rolled her eyes at the therapist's questions. I could tell she hated every second of it, but I made her keep going. The second session was not much better, but by the third, something shifted. She did not roll her eyes as much. She listened. She hesitated before answering. It was small progress, but it was progress. One night, I found her sitting alone in the living room, staring at her hands. I talked to Grandma today, she said quietly. I froze, my heart pounding. You did? She nodded. I think I hurt her. A lot. There was something in her voice I had not heard in a long time. Guilt. For the first time, I saw a glimpse of the little girl I had raised. The one who still had a heart buried beneath all the entitlement. Over the next few months, she changed. It was not instant, nor was it easy. There were setbacks, arguments, moments where I thought she would never take responsibility. But then, one afternoon, I walked into the house to find Lily sitting beside Emily, holding her mother's hand. They were talking, really talking. I did not interrupt. I just watched. Because after everything that had happened, I finally had hope. And that is how it all played out. What do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did my daughter need that wake-up call? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new upload.